Remember 3 years ago, it was Russell Westbrook's fault. Then it was Frank Vogel's fault. Then it was D'Angelo Russell's fault. Then it was Darvin Ham's fault. It's always somebody else's fault.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
We can go one-on-one, get any shot we want. They got a good shot every time. The Lakers could never keep them in front of them.
It's Dinwiddie. James the bump to the right.
Keep saying the Lakers stink, plain and simple. We have to talk about them because the media is infatuated with the Lakers. But the Lakers are not a good team.
3-point attempts. Here comes Washington. We got them in a trade about this time. Nice defense by Dallas. Hardy on the fly. Christie in the way. Kicks it in the corner. Clay, three! It's coming off a scoreless game a couple nights ago in Houston. Grimes, corner, wide open three.
When it comes to the NBA media, one of their favorite talking points and narratives revolves around LeBron James and his so-called longevity. And LeBron himself loves talking about his longevity, being an old player, and saying, you know, I could play 5-7 more years if I really wanted to.
I could probably play this game at a high level for about another, weird that I might say, but about another 5 to 7 years if I wanted to.
In the age of load management, it isn't that LeBron is missing more games. He's load managing during games.
It's embarrassing.
There's a lot of players in NBA history who didn't have to play defense. They could have played 3, 4, even 5 more years. And LeBron at this point, he's simply not required to play defense, think about defense, or really even bother with it, as the 4 other Laker teammates on the floor have to carry his dead weight every single night on that end of the floor. And looking at that little ESPN segment I threw in there, that's from 6 years ago in 2020. All that time ago, ESPN, they knew LeBron James was low managing on the basketball court, and they spun it into an oddly positive thing. The LeBron James low managing on the court, you know, it's a good thing.
I don't believe you.
Again, this does not mean the king can't move anymore. The slow average just indicates that he chose to spend a huge amount of his time barely moving.
And back in 2020, LeBron James, I mean, he wasn't playing phenomenal prime defense, but he was playing serviceable defense. Nowadays in 2025, he's one of the worst defenders in the NBA and by far one of the laziest. As looking at their past 2 games versus Dallas and Houston, just has numerous breakdowns in all areas. And the worst thing about LeBron James on defense, it is never his fault. Look at this clip right here. LeBron clearly makes a mistake, but throws his hands up. It's not my fault, can't be my fault, it's someone else on the team. That right there bugs me the most about LeBron James. It is never his fault, and his body language always says it's that guy's fault. And looking at these games more in depth, what does LeBron James not do? Number 1, get back in transition.
2.5 to play in the third. Deflected and stolen. Stolen by Grimes. He's got a trailer, and that is Marshall.
Number 2, gives no help in the paint to any Lakers defender.
It's Dinwiddie and Reeves.
Number 3, goes under every pick and roll and sometimes ignores it entirely.
Holiday draws 2, the extra pass, Whitmore's wide open.
Number 4, this guy on the defensive glass is the laziest player I've ever seen.
2%, he's been at a 40%er from the three-point line in his time with the Lakers, and then Thompson misses.
So those plays right there, those defensive breakdowns, those are mistakes that lead directly to points and the other team scoring. I mean, that on its own is pretty bad. But for LeBron James, the film, it does not lie. And if you look at plays where the team doesn't score, LeBron, even on these plays, just playing pitiful defense, losing his man, out of position, just not engaged.
You stink.
When you see ESPN praise low managing on the court, praise his longevity, you gotta wonder, why don't they talk about his defense, lack of defense, and his disinterest in playing on one whole side of the floor? And the funny thing is, at the same time, a lot of Lakers fans, LeBron fans, they'll always be super bad and frustrated. Why is this team struggling? Why is their defense so bad? And they never connect the dots together that it might be your guy who's age 40, phenomenal longevity, who plays no defense. I mean, look at their most recent trade. D'Lo goes out, he's the problem, the scapegoat, not a good defender at all. Who do they bring in? Dorian Finney-Smith, the savior, the chosen one, gonna make all their problems go away.
Wrong again.
Now, with Finney-Smith in the roster the past 5 games, the Lakers' defense hasn't remained the same, hasn't gotten better, it's gotten drastically worse. Their defensive rating, 117.6, that ranks 27th in the NBA over the last 5 games. The only teams behind them, the Wizards, who stink, the Nets, who stink, and the Raptors, who are a G League team. And look, a 5-game sample size, it is a very small sample, but once again shows the Lakers' defensive problems. It isn't right on D'Angelo Russell, the role players. It revolves on the so-called best player on the team, that being LeBron James.
You're a problem. You're a real problem.
It's almost like being stuck in a time loop. It's Groundhog's Day. The same problems every single year. They blame everyone but LeBron. At what point do people acknowledge LeBron James is an abysmal defender and the biggest problem for the Lakers on defense? And once again, looking at ESPN, for once in this network's history, they called out LeBron James and his bad defense. But what did they cover it in, kind of soften it with? They said LeBron James, he's not playing good defense, but also it's the entire Lakers team, once again making a team problem, not a LeBron James problem.
Beautiful offensive basketball, terrible defensive basketball from LeBron and the rest of the Lakers last night. That's been the story of their season.
That clip right there from Windhorse typifies ESPN as well as LeBron fans. If he gets his 28-7-7, has a pretty good ball game, he's a one-man army carrying the team, he's doing everything. If he plays no defense as a turnstile, just Olay defense, go to the paint, then all of a sudden, it's a Lakers problem. LeBron is bad, but it's a team problem everyone has to solve. It's the classic LeBron fan deflection of all the credit when things go good, but when things go bad, you start dishing out blame to everyone.
Remember 3 years ago, it was Russell Westbrook's fault. Then it was Frank Vogel's fault. Then it was D'Angelo Russell's fault. Then it was Darvin Ham's fault.
Like Charles said right there, what is the common theme with the Lakers and their defensive problems? It's not Luke Walton, Frank Vogel, JJ Redick, even a Darvin Ham. The one constant one year to the next year is LeBron James. Why are the Lakers this year a bottom 5 team in fast break points allowed? Well, because LeBron James not getting back on defense. Why are they a bottom 3 team in the NBA in paint points allowed? Well, because LeBron James, their second biggest player, gives no effort on the block or at the rim. This Lakers team this year, they rank 22nd in defensive rating. That is worse than under Darvin Ham and Frank Vogel. At what point did LeBron fans, ESPN look in the mirror and say, my guy, my favorite player, they're the biggest problem, especially on defense? I'm still waiting on the basketball savant, JJ Redick, to point out this problem in a post-game podcast. At this point, he's not done it once on the season. You know who he will call out is the role players, the supporting players, but not once will call it LeBron James for his lack of effort on defense.
A beautiful play.
That's what Anthony Davis dunked too. That was nice.
It must have been a beautiful play. We showed it 22 times.
A lot of fans watching that clip right there, they might say Barkley, he's hating being an old head, just a stick in the mud. But the thing is, Charles, like he said, that replay was played over and over and over again. If you want to play something that's meaningful, has an impact on the game, it's not LeBron's dunks. It's his defensive gaffes and goofs that cost his team nearly every single night. If you're going to praise 24 points per game at age 40, why don't you also praise his defense or lack thereof? Because the stat numbers at this point, they kind of ring hollow when you're not playing any defense or giving any effort on that end of the floor. And again, this problem of LeBron James not playing defense, checking out mentally on that end, it's been persisting for the past 5 years. And during that time period, LeBron's Lakers, have they done anything of note, any accomplishment, team accolade, that matters in the grand scheme of things? Of course not. All LeBron's done is get his numbers, his longevity stats, had that all-time resume, which is heavily aided by load management, the offensive scoring boom, and the occasional trip to South Beach.
Seen his dad on that balcony, he on that new juice.
So that right there is the end of the video, and I'll say one last thing. I'm not some basketball savant, basketball genius who knows every defensive scheme, offensive set. I'm not that guy. But if I can watch these clips, see the defensive breakdowns, the lack of switching, effort, the lack of movement, you gotta think someone like Redick, an NBA coach, other coaches on the staff, other coaches in the NBA, they gotta see the exact same thing. But for the NBA media, they've almost taken a vow of silence, not to look at LeBron's defense, lack of effort, really look at any of that. It's almost mafia-esque, it's a backdoor handshake deal, prop me up, don't say anything bad about me, just keep it all in the family.
Don't ever take sides with anyone against the family again.
As I've said time and time again with LeBron James, the stats, the numbers, to a certain extent, are impressive. But how he's getting these stats, these numbers, that's where things take a hard left turn. As of course in past eras, not playing any defense, just checking on that end, was never really an option. Yes, there were bad defensive players, but even those guys gave effort, were engaged, at least try to play defense. LeBron at this point doesn't even try. And why would he? Nobody calls it out, points it out, or makes it a big thing. You could take any rec coach in America, YMCA coach, and play this clip right here, LeBron James not crossing half court, and they'd be disgusted. So how are NBA coaches, professional analysts, not also disgusted? It simply does not add up. As always, thank you guys for watching, hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time.